in real estate in general, there's a playbook that you follow. It's most people quit before they get to the end of the playbook because it's hard.
Yeah.
How many times have you had people come up to you and ask you like, hey, can you coach me or show me how to do this? Like, I'll come work for you, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, okay, read this book first.
Yep.
And they never even do that.
All the time.
All the time. Instant gratification is a real thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it. If you tell me you don't want it, you're a liar.
Yeah.
I mean, myself included. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about myself included. Like, I want the easy wins. I want the fast cash. But most things that are worth it in life are not the low-hanging fruit. They're the high-hanging fruit. The barrier to entry is very high because it's worth it. But people want to be successful now. There's nothing wrong with having a materialistic why. But the problem is, once you accomplish those material things, you need something that's going to continue to get you going there.
And exciting,
right?
Correct.
Welcome to The Big Break Show, your go-to podcast for real estate investing, business acquisition, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into Season 2 with your hosts, Rafa Loza and Dan Tollins.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break Show. And today we actually have a very special episode because it's our first in-house live recording. And we're here at Dan's hotel up in North Carolina. And as you can see, his sign back here. So, Dan, you want to tell us a little bit about the hotel before we introduce our guest?
Yeah, so this is number 4 that we've picked up, and we're running these kind of like an Airbnb. You know, we got this one done in 7 weeks, so that was pretty impressive. And we're open for what is this, Memorial Day? Yeah, coming up. So, we're super excited. It's got 27 rooms and putting in some pickleball courts and a dog run and right across the street from the beach, and really ramping things up down here.
That's sweet, man. You know, I'm a big fan of pickleball, considering I've built 5. So, all right. So as you guys know, we like to bring in people from different aspects of life, not just business, not just real estate, but different aspects of life. And today we have a very special guest who focuses strictly around commercial real estate, Mr. Tim Vitale. How are you, brother?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show, dude. We appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the invite. I love doing these.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Tim, can you tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, what you're about? Give a brief overview of how you got started.
Yeah. So, Tim Vitale. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. I buy commercial apartment complexes, specifically LITECH and Section 8, which is LITECH stands for Low Income Housing Tax Credit. So we're in the affordable housing space, and we own about 1,600 units now. Awesome. Spread from North, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi.
Oh, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
So, okay. Go before you got into commercial real estate. Because I want to know what made you transition into that space.
Yeah. So my previous life, my W-2 life, I worked in a finance and accounting role in the insurance industry. I worked in Manhattan on Wall Street for a couple of years, and I worked up to assistant vice president of finance for a Fortune 500 company, which was cool. It was remarkable, but ultimately that's also one of the reasons why I started to get into commercial real estate was because I went from making $99,000 a year to $103,000 a year. And I asked my boss, she told me, we went out to lunch and she told me she was all excited about giving me the promotion. And it was like a 3.5% raise, whatever the math turned out to be. And I went back and I asked her, I was like, well, wait a second. Like, I got a VP in the title now. Isn't this when I start making the buku bucks, 50%, 100% raises? Like, everyone told me my whole life, get a good job, work for the man, become a VP at a company, and you'll be set for life. And I was like, but this is nothing. I'm not going to feel any promotion or any raise or any increase. And that was in December what are we in now? 2018. So about 5 years ago, six years ago now. Yeah, 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. So that was the transitionary period. I was 28 years old at the time. My family's from Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut, and I've been around commercial real estate my whole life. Up in Connecticut, everybody does, multifamily investing, which is mostly small duplexes, triplexes, quads, things like that. But my family specifically did more so of the mixed use buildings. Mm-hmm. So there'd be, 4 to 8 apartments on top of like 2 or 3 triple net locations. And my grandfather's theory always was the triple net locations pay the bills, and the rents from your apartment units, that's what you live off of, right? And that's just the way my family structured their whole business. And I have aunts and uncles, and they all do something different in the real estate industry, but they all worked for the family, right? I mean, come from a large Italian family in Connecticut, and everybody worked for the family, keep all the money in the family. So, my dad was like the handyman, kind of Mr. Fix-It. I have one uncle's in HVAC, the other one's in plumbing, another one, they're all over the place, right? So everybody did something for the family. When it came my turn is when I started doing the accounting. I started doing the bookkeeping for the family. And I had been doing the bookkeeping for like 3-4 years now, and I saw how much money my grandmother was making from her couch, and I'm like, that's great. And then it didn't really dawn on me until later on, and I was like, wait a second, like, why didn't I start doing this? So January 2019, I was like, I'm going to start learning real estate. And I listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was driving from Charlotte, lived in Charlotte at the time, and I was coming to Wilmington to visit. And we listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad on the drive here, and it just light bulbs going off all over the place. And basically from that point, I learned how to buy like single family homes and single family, I was going to be the best BRRRR investor ever,
Yeah.
So I bought my first condo in November of 2019. So it took me 11 months to kind of buy my I keep saying apartment. So used to saying apartments every day. Yeah. My first single family house, that doesn't come out of my mouth very often. Bought my first single family in November of 2019. It was advertised as a 2-bed, 1.5 bath. It really turned out it was a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, and the appraiser didn't give me credit for it. Long story short, I learned the difference between income-based and a comp-based approach on your appraisal. Coming from the finance and accounting world, income and expenses made a lot of sense to me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this now. So then it was January 2020, literally a year later after I started, I was like, I'm cutting the cord with the single family stuff, and I'm going to go buy apartment complexes. And then from that point, it was August of 2021, I bought my first apartment complex, which was a 92 unit apartment complex, 18 months later or so. And then the August happened. And then September, I quit my W-2 job. October, we moved back. We sold our house from Charlotte. We moved back to Wilmington. We sold our house and lived off the money in our house. And I met Dan like shortly thereafter, because he had moved from Charleston to Wilmington. And it was probably that spring or something like that. So like maybe 6 months after I had been working full time, and just been off to the races ever since. So I've been doing this for 2.5, going on 3 years.
So, dude, okay, a ton of stuff. It's impressive as hell, because I want to get into the mindset really quick behind all of it, because not everybody goes, oh, hey, I want to leave my W-2 job, right?
Yeah.
Which you were earning pretty good money, and go, I want to try this out on my own, and then try real estate, and then instantly go, nah, never mind, I want to do the big real estate stuff, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people out there are like, they think that they need to do 1,000 houses before they can actually even touch, commercial, or try to get into something like that. And it's a daunting task. People are scared because it's like bigger numbers, not understanding that it's actually just one big roof, different doors, right? Type of situation. Mm-hmm. Can you touch a little bit of what made you, I understand that you just weren't making enough revenue off the single family, but like, I want to know the mindset behind the no fear of just jumping into commercial.
So it's not that there's no fear. It's just clear goals.
Okay.
That's something that a lot of people in my life have told me throughout my entire life, is like, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I don't get shiny object syndrome. I don't get focused and pulled over here and then try to do this over there. And it has happened to me once before. And I quickly realized, well, wait a second, this is why I do what I do, right? And I kind of strayed off the path there. And that turned into a bigger headache and a bigger problem than I ever expected it to be. And this was supposed to be easy, right? The grass is never greener on the other side. But ultimately, it's not that it was no fear. I mean, there was a ton of fear. There's a ton of imposter syndrome. There's a ton of all of the things that you could think that were going against you. But I ultimately looked at people that were doing what I wanted to be doing, and I said, I want to be like that guy. And if that guy can do it, there's no reason why I can't do it. I was like, coming off of my ego of, I worked up to assistant VP of a Fortune 500 company at 28 years old. Yeah. There's no reason why I can't do anything. And it was like, I started looking at the guys that were doing what I wanted to be doing. And I was like, I could do this way better. And I was just like, and it was kind of, I borrowed their experience and I borrowed their kind of beliefs to believe in myself that no matter what, I can do it as long as I set my clear goals. I know what I want to do, and I don't spend any time doing anything else but those goals.
I love that, man.
Well, let's touch on how you gave yourself a little runway by selling your single family house and saying, all right, now I've got X amount of time
Yeah.
to really shoot to the moon.
That's an interesting story because my wife, she quit her job. This was June 2019. She came home from work crying. She was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to, we had been kind of exploring entrepreneurial life now for about 6 months and learning and doing all that stuff. And she was like, I just can't do this anymore. She came home crying, and I was just like, okay, quit. Like, what are you going to do? As a husband, no, go back to work. No, she quit her job in June, and then she worked on her business, and she created a business that she opened up 2 months later. And then this was still very, in COVID time. And my boss came back to me, and she was like, hey, everybody's got to go back to the office 100%. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm going to get fired for not doing my job because I was doing a lot of, answering phone calls and Zoom calls and networking things and being involved on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. I was still getting what I needed to get done. Like, I couldn't get fired for non-performance because my job needs were met, but I wasn't like overachieving like I always was. So my boss calls, it's a Friday, and she goes, hey, everyone's got to go back to the office starting next month. And I told Danielle that. My wife's name's Danielle. And I was like, Danielle, I don't want to go back to the office. Like, I don't want to do this. And she looks at me dead ass and goes, let's sell the house. So it wasn't the single family house that we bought as the investment property. This was our primary residence. We had built a brand new house. It was like 2,800 square feet. I was living the Vida Loca, right? I had a new house. I had a fenced in yard with irrigation and perfect grass. I was living the American dream at that point. My wife, she was like, how much money do we have in equity in the house? I was like, I don't know. Maybe we could sell it, and have about 150 or so thousand equity. And we looked at it and we said, that's enough to live off of for 2 years. And we said, and I said, if I can't put any money into the bank account in 2 years, it was never meant to be. And I had a conversation with my boss, and I was like, look, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. I was like, because I'm miserable here now. And it's not because I had a bad boss or a bad job or anything like that. I was just like, I had bigger goals and aspirations in life than what that job could provide.
Yeah.
And so we sold the single family house, the primary residence. We put like 150, 160K in the bank. We lived off of that, and then liquidated our 401ks because I was like, I don't need this anymore. I'm a full-time real estate professional. So I can use the depreciation to offset the taxes that I paid. So I did that. So that put more money into the account.
Nice.
And we ultimately had maybe a 3-year runway. And I'm not even at year 3 yet.
Yeah.
Right. And then look what I've been able to accomplish, because the best part of my day between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. is now spent on my business, accomplishing my goals, the things that I want to do in life, and not working for somebody else. So there's a ton of fear there. I got into accounting and finance because I wanted a steady paycheck. I don't lie when I tell people this. I came downstairs my last day and I cried because I was scared. Right. So like, don't misinterpret that there was no fear there. It was like the scariest thing I had ever done. Now looking back at it, I wish I had done it years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But like getting to that mental point in my life and that checkpoint and saying like, this is what's going to propel my business and propel my life and get me to where I want to go is, that was one of those pivotal moments, was that right there.
What's that cheesy saying? Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear, right?
On the other side of your comfort zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So similar things, I guess. Yeah. It's awesome to hear your story, dude, because like, honestly, 3 years is hell of impressive. And a lot of people will
September
read books for 3 years before they even decide to actually step in, let alone even consider quitting their job. Like the fact that you went all in, put everything behind you and said, hey, it's either this or I have to go back to what I don't want to do.
Right.
And I have this much time to do it. And I know what the goal is. And there's the finish line. Mm-hmm. And now I know how to get to it. Now I can go in every direction, but I know I want to end up there.
Yeah.
Right. I love that, dude.
Well, in real estate in general, because we're all real estate guys here. There's a playbook that you follow. It's most people quit before they get to the end of the playbook because it's hard.
Yeah.
How many times have you had people come up to you and ask you like, hey, can you coach me? Or you can show me this and show me how to do this and help, like, I'll come work for you, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, okay, read this book first.
Yep.
And they never even do that.
All the time.
All the time. Right. But it's just, surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And, cutting out ties in your life that aren't serving you, because your W-2 friends and your W-2 coworkers are not going to get you to your entrepreneurial life. And you have to make clear, conscious decisions of where you're going, and don't get the shiny object syndrome. I mean, if I had said I'm going to do apartments, and then I'm going to do self-storage, and then I'm going to do triple net, then I'm going to do RV parks, I'd be a master of none.
Yeah.
And sure, I did pivot a little bit. I still do apartments, but now I've, carved out a niche of doing LITECH and Section 8. But that's a pivot along the path. I'm still working towards the journey of just owning apartments.
So, something there's nothing wrong with trying different aspects of it, but once you find the one that you're going to be good at and stick to it, like you're saying, right? Focus on that one thing, because you're right. Like, I've done it. My focus was short-term rentals, and there came a time where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm over it. And I'm like, I'm going to try some wholesaling, or I'm going to try flipping houses. And then I sat there and I was like, well, wait, I'm really freaking good at short-term rentals. Why am I going to start, going in different directions, steer from the path? And so I said, screw it. I'm going to focus. I'm going to go all in. And look, I've grown this business significantly over the last 5 years because of focusing to one really niche area within real estate. I love that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lost art. It's like people now are, myself included. I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about myself included. Like, instant gratification is a real thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it. If you tell me you don't want it, you're a liar. Right? Because I want the easy wins. I want the fast cash. I want the stuff that's going to be, moving the needle very easy. But most things that are worth it in life are not the low-hanging fruit. They're the high-hanging fruit. And, the barrier to entry is very high because it's worth it. But people want to be successful now. I mean, what's missed is, it took me 3 years really of building my foundation, my real estate education, my network, my relationships, my investor base, my everything that goes into building this business and becoming successful. Took me 3 years to build.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, you're like, okay, well, now I'm really in year 6.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do my first deal. I start with my commercial world, right? Like, I didn't do my first deal until August of 2021, but there was 3 years before that of building everything necessary to do what I wanted to do. So everyone looks at, they're like, oh, well, you just quit your job and then you started buying apartments. I'm like, no, there was 3 years of education and networking and all those things, and I started to see momentum. I started to see my actions come into, like, monetizing my actions.
Yeah.
I started to see all of these things. So that was also this big piece of what gave me the confidence to quit my job. Because I would never tell anybody that it's like, if you're doing something and then you want to go do something else, don't just go and quit your job and try to start it. No, you got to do the early mornings and the late nights, and you got to see if you can make it as a side hustle first. And then when you start to get some traction, that's when you got to say, all right, well, I'm gonna burn the ships here, and I'm gonna just go all in on it. And you got to be very black or white. You both feet in or both feet out. Like, you can't straddle the line for that long because you burn yourself out.
Yeah, I mean, just like JD, right? JD just finally was able to get his to a certain comfort level to where he's finally and he had another perfect example of a well-paying job. I think he was $200K plus, and was up early, working late, doing all the things just to build the commercial portfolio. And then I think it was just a month or so ago.
I don't know how he lasted as long as he did.
Dude, I don't either.
I mean, he's waking up at 3 a.m. doing all his real estate stuff, and then going to his day job, which was like a software something or another job, right? I don't know exactly what it was, but I don't know how he did that. I mean, my situation was a little different. I didn't have kids at the time.
I was going to say, with a wife and 2 young kids.
Yeah, right.
I hope everybody's catching what we're talking about here, because everybody always asks me the same thing too. They go, oh, dude, because I quit my job after I got my first short-term rental up and running. I was like, going all in on this. And so people go, oh, you just started one and you quit without any, no, dude, it took me 2 years of learning.
Right.
I was reading podcasts, talking to people, networking. Finally, I said, okay, I'm going to try this out 100%. And I went all in, right? And I took it and went from there. But same thing as you, I was in a very different life situation. I have no kids, nothing. It's just me by myself. My back was against the wall. I'm okay living off of, I didn't pay myself anything for the first 3 years of my business. Same thing, right? I was stacking. And then finally, the high-hanging fruit started to drop. And I was like, oh, crap. You put your head up, and all of a sudden you're like, did I just do all that? Like, what just happened here, right? And then you get to enjoy the fruit there of the work that you've been working on. But the point here is it takes time to build up to getting to a point where you can actually say, hey, I'm going to put my feet in and go all in on this. It's not, I just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm going to be a real estate investor.
Yeah.
I quit my job and go at it.
I like to make the the comparison to college. right? Like you go to college, you get a degree, it takes you 4 years to do that, right? Everyone I know is 2 years, 3 years. I don't know how long Dan did it, but like, it takes a couple of years of learning, right? And that's the same thing as going to school and getting an education. And then what do you do when you're in college? You get an internship, right? And that's you doing a couple deals, getting your feet wet, making sure that you can do it. And then you graduate, you get your degree, and you go all in on your job. Same thing in the entrepreneurial world. If you want to do any asset class or you want to do, you want to start buying businesses, you want to do any of that, you got to do the early mornings and the late nights. You got to go to school, get your degree in, a couple of years to do that. Then you do a deal or two where you start to learn from a mentor, somebody else that knows what they're doing. And then you've got to cut the cord and you got to go all in on the next thing, right? And people are able to put that connection together a lot easier because it's a much more commonly accepted thing, in society.
But it doesn't stop there. It's, continuing education after
that's just the start. Yeah, that's just the start.
Just like other professionals, I mean, realtors have to do continuing education. Same with, physicians and so many other professionals, the police, they're training all the time, firefighters, all those same folks. So same kind of deal, just much bigger scale. But I think it also speaks to during that continuing education is following along with people that are successful in their journey. So it's really been, a great time, especially for us the last 2 years, seeing, where you've been able to progress and, enjoying Water Wednesdays. And
I'd like to get back to those.
Dude, I'm ready for it to be a little bit warmer. So,
I'm glad you brought this up because I wasn't expecting the conversation going to like goal driven and mindset, which is I'm glad it did because it's one of my favorite topics to talk about here. But I want to talk about the personal side of things, like your why, Water Wednesdays. We've talked about it on the show a couple times before. Like, let's touch on. I don't have any specific aspect. Tell me about Water Wednesdays, of course, but let's talk about like what drives you to continue because something that you said is we're still learning and we continue to educate ourselves. I do it all the time. I still sign up for, masterminds where people are going to teach me something new. But it's for a reason, right? It's because it's the lifestyle. For me, it's the do what I want, when I want, with who I want, wherever I want, whenever I want, right? Like that's me. I don't have kids, but it's me, my girlfriend, and my dog. And I want to build a life as best as possible for us three and to be able to do it and enjoy it with whoever I want. I mean, look, I'm here, right? Across the street from the beach, recording a podcast on a Wednesday. You know what I mean? So let's touch on that for a second. Like, what's your why and what drives you to not even your why, like something that's kind of cheesy talking about it because everybody talks about the why, but what drives you?
So let me answer that though first because that's exactly where I was going to challenge you was my why. Everyone talks about your why, like it's going to be your family, your friends, your time, this, that, and the other thing. And I don't disagree with that, but also at the point in my life and my career where I'm at today, I'm still super hungry. Yeah. Most of my why is materialistic, and that's okay. Yeah. It's growing after money, growing after equity, buying your houses, buying your, paying off all the debt. There's nothing wrong with having a materialistic why. But the problem is once you accomplish those material things, you need something that's going to continue to get you going there.
And excite you, correct.
And I struggle with everyone always saying, well, I'm going to do it for this, I'm going to do it for that. I'm like, well, no, the reason that I started this for money. And, I tell everybody, I don't care about that. Like, yeah, I'm after money. Yeah. And that's fine. And then once I get to that point of where I feel comfortable with the money situation, there are other things. Like now my daughter's 4.5 months old now. So like, things have shifted a little bit. Now they have more non-negotiables between like 5 and 8 p.m. is non-negotiable. Sorry, like I'm not answering my phone. I'm not doing a meeting with you. Like I got something to do and somewhere to be between 5 and 8 o'clock every single day. Right. So that's a non-negotiable. But those whys and those things continue to change and develop over time because the goalpost is ever moving. If, you get out of your W-2 job because you want to make money. Well, then you start getting into your business because you want to make more money. Well, then you buy your waterfront dream house, right? Which is my current number one goal is buying my waterfront dream house, which December 31st, 2025, I've been telling Dan since the day I met him. That's my ultimate driving goal right now. And that's okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having materialistic goals. Yeah. But after that point, what continues to make me want to do what I want to do is I'm in the affordable housing space, and there's a big misconception around like what affordable housing is and the type of people that you provide housing to. And we're trying to change that stigma because the people that we deal with, just because they make low income doesn't mean they're bad people.
Right.
Yeah.
And the opposite is what people think, is that they make low money, so they're bad people. And that's not true.
Yeah.
That's a huge stigma in the industry. The other side that keeps me going is like, I love being able to connect with people and provide value and help. That's how I ultimately got started in commercial real estate, was by providing value to somebody else. And my providing value is employing my employees. And my providing value is learning how to do things better to make everybody's lives easier, so we don't have to work 40, 60, 80 hours a week. Like, I wanted everybody to work less, right? The goal is not to work more. The goal is to work less. And then the last thing is, I raise money from investors. My continuing why is when I get a phone call from a 70-year-old investor that says he can finally retire because my distributions are being paid quarterly and he can make money to retire off of, that like gives me chills thinking about it, because
awesome.
I have the power to do something that 99.9% of the people in this world don't know how to do, is that's create money.
Yeah.
When you have a skill set like that I benefit from financially, but also my investors do, that's something that you got to help people with, right?
Well, there's also a ton of people that say that same thing, but they're not able to pay their investors, or they're like, well, the deal didn't quite work, so even though they promised to get them, paid quarterly or monthly or whatever, however they set it up, and then like even the very first one, it wasn't printing, wasn't coming out like that.
I mean, there are, to be devil's advocate, there are always things that we can't control, like tax. The last 24 months have been really hard with tax increases, with interest rates, insurance prices have
Insurance.
I have some insurance policies that have gone up 300%. You can't underwrite that. I mean, and I can't control it either. So, I mean, real estate is cyclical. It does have its ups and it has its downs. We're currently in a down market. I feel like if we're not at the bottom, we're definitely close to it and approaching it. There's been some favorable changes in the Fed rates. I mean, the agency loans and stuff like that have come down in the last 2 weeks, 65 basis points. I think it was the Fed. One of the agencies have come down like 65 basis points in 2 months or 2 weeks. Insurance, I have a phone call after this with my insurance broker. They're like, hey, we're starting to see like 30, 40% reduction in insurance costs. Do you want to shop your policies? I'm like, why are you asking that? So like it is cyclical. You do have to realize, like, and I know you guys do, things go up and down, right? But making sure that you stay true to what you said you're going to be able to deliver on and actually doing it, like, that's another why.
Yeah. And
right?
proper planning,
Planning.
and having reserves and all those things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of folks that, as things shifted, that, they had to.
Yeah, I mean, some people are just completely over leveraged. They, got floating rate interest rates when they were 2% interest and didn't purchase a rate cap, thinking that they would never go back up. I mean, there's a lot of like bad decisions. I don't want to say there's any. I struggle to say that there's bad people, because maybe they just didn't make a well-informed choice. Yeah. But there have been a lot of bad choices that have been made, and people are paying for it financially. Now, the difference between somebody that actually mans up and does something about it and takes care of their investors versus just saying, oh, sorry, that's complete. Like, that's not my circle of people.
Yeah, I think you and I've got that in common, to where we've seen folks that operate that way, and we're, very quick to just.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's risk.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's not,
we don't operate that way.
In our world, in your world included, if your reputation's gone, your lifeline, your bloodline of your deal, of your business is gone, because you're not going to be able to raise money from investors.
100%.
Everyone has a finite amount of capital, right? And the way that we're able to grow and scale, I don't want to say infinitely, but pretty close to it, is being able to access other people's money and provide that service of, providing returns and making money for other people.
There's something crucial that you said, and I'm glad we're talking about raising capital now, because I don't think there's bad people, like you said. There's no malice behind what they do. It's the fact of how they respond to it. So I could have bought something, and it could have went south 5 years later. But what am I going to do about it to get out of that bad situation, right? Wipe your hand clean and say, hey, sorry, my bad, I'm out. It's just a scumbag thing to do. You don't do it. These people put their trust in you, right? These people are counting on you to deliver, whether it's you delivering now or you have a conversation and say, hey, listen, I'm going to deliver, but it's going to take me longer to deliver on what I promised.
Right.
Is the people that really truly stand out. Those are the people that I like to have in my circle, people I like to work with. And it's exactly what you're saying. I just feel that, you're right. Sometimes things do go south. unexpected, right? There's a million different factors. You can only prepare, but how are you going to work through it and get to the other side?
We're in the perfect cycle of the market right now to like continue to make your circle smaller.
Yeah.
Because people put huge targets on their back, and it's just like, oh, glad I never did anything with that person, but block.
Yeah. It's funny, like the real estate world, as big as this world is, it's a small world.
It's big, but it's small.
You'll know, like you'll always hear from someone or another. I'm in a bunch of different circles, and it's like in one circle I'll hear someone talk about this circle, and this circle I hear someone talk about that one, and I'm like, dude, everybody knows each other at one point or another.
And at one point, you're just trading deals between each other.
Yeah.
You know?
You guys want to talk about Water Wednesdays or what's fun?
Yeah. I mean, so Water Wednesday was the whole like do what I want with who I want when I want, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's just we live here in Wilmington. The waterway is not that big, and it's very crowded. It can be very crowded on the weekends. And when I first bought my boat, we were towing it, and launching it off at the boat ramp. And, if you didn't get a spot at the boat ramp on Saturday morning by 6:30 a.m., you weren't getting one. And so what we ended up starting to do was we were like, all right, well, we'll just not go out on the boat on Saturday. We'll go out on Wednesday, and there's nobody out there, and we don't have to fight with parking. We don't have to worry about, not being able to pull up to the dock and like go get food or whatever. So we just started doing that. We're like, hey, we're just going to go out on the boat every Wednesday. This is great. It's a nice break in the week. There's no, it's much less busy. And, we wanted to design a life that we wanted to live. And this was our lifestyle by design. We wanted to go out on the boat, and just turned into Water Wednesdays. And, we were talking about it because when you had first came up here for your birthday, it was a Wednesday. And you're like, I was like, yeah, I'll come out and meet you on the boat. And you're like, okay, cool. And I was like, yeah, we come out on the boat every Wednesday. He goes, so it's like your Water Wednesdays. I was like, yeah, we're going to coin it that.
That's it. We're getting ready to start here pretty soon.
Pretty soon, yeah.
So he took us out on the boat the last time I was here in August, I think it was. Yeah. Man, it was such a fantastic time. I mean,
it's the best, man.
I'm moving out here. So
people always say, like, break out another 1,000 or whatever, right? And like I made a post on Facebook once and LinkedIn and all that stuff, and it was like my favorite activity on my boat is filling the gas tank. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Like, everyone's like, that's like the worst thing you can ever do. And I'm like, no, it's not. That means that I've spent quality time on the water with my friends and family doing what I want to do.
I love that.
Right? It's all mindset. I mean, I know we kind of started talking, it's all mindset. Everything in your life is going to come back to your mindset and how you kind of process what's in front of you, and the relationships that you have, and like your viewpoint on everything. Like, it just came back from going up north, and everyone seems to be very negative up north, like always focusing on all the bad things and everything that's going wrong. I'm like, no, man, I'm going to take a negative thing, like putting $500 of gas in my boat, and turn it into a positive thing. Yeah. And it really helps your mindset, and it really helps like relieve a lot of pressure from the negativity if you just look at the positive things in life.
So many people have that aspect. They just look at all the bad without trying to figure it out. You're saying a lot of good stuff, man.
Or like, we'll also play pickleball over on Wrightsville Beach. It's about 25, 30 minutes.
Hopefully we'll be playing here soon.
Yeah, we'll be playing that shit here. So they'll be coming this direction. But, instead of looking at it like, oh, I got to go 25 minutes or 30 minutes, it's like, no, like, I'm going to do that because I get to hang out with him, or we get to, network with folks that got some money to put in the deals, or it's also Tuesday morning at 8 or Thursday morning, whatever.
Yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing. I mean, business has been pretty wild lately, so I have not been doing a lot of those things, but I'm really trying to get back into going out on the boat on Wednesday afternoons and then playing pickleball Thursday mornings.
But it's also good about having, accountability partners or people in your circle that are working on similar stuff, whether it's, getting in 10,000 steps or eating better or drinking less or drinking more water or, eating a little bit better, just all the different things that, contribute to your well-being and trying to keep a set schedule. But
yeah, I mean, we check in with each other. Not every day, but most days. Hey, did you get your steps in? I got mine in by like 8 a.m. today. And how much water did you drink? And, did you eat crappy food? Did you do your, did you fast? Did you, what was the last meal? What's the next meal? All that kind of stuff. And it's not like, no matter what you could do or say, like, it's nice to have that, but like, you got to have your own level of discipline or self-accountability or whatever you want to call it in order to kind of achieve the things that you want to achieve.
There also has to be some sort of willing to want to do these things, right? Because I can bug him all day long, do your stuff, and then he's going to get annoyed. This guy's always calling me about my stuff. right? And if he's not putting the effort into it, like it goes both ways with the circle of friends that you want to be in, right?
Right.
I want to be pushed, and I want to be able to push those people so that we can both be better.
Yeah.
Not him be upset or pissed off because I'm like constantly hounding him about shit. It's like, yo, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? Then it becomes a more of like, why am I the one always doing all the pushing here?
No, I was going to talk about having like all three of us have solid women in our lives that all in three different stages of relationships. But I think having that support system, like Cass and I do work together. You guys have not, but you're also on this journey together, and you guys tried working together for a little bit. But I think just having such a strong bond with the woman or partner in your life just goes so much further than people that are out in the bar and jumping around and all this. And then, like our buddy Austin, who was just like trying to find that right person. He was like leaning on God and praying about it. And then he found his current girlfriend, who eventually will be his wife. But I would say let's just talk a little bit about, how having the support from her has helped kind of, give you the confidence to go out and do what you've done.
I mean, like I said with my story to begin with, like if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
She's the one that suggested to sell the house and move back to Wilmington. I was like, what are you, nuts? Yeah. She was like, yeah, I am a little nuts. And she's like, I don't want you to go to work. She was like, I know what you can do. I know what you're capable of. My whole life I was always told I was the best employee they've ever had. You should go work for yourself then at that point. Right. I mean, it's like, it all comes back to her. I mean, if she didn't say, let's sell the house, I probably wouldn't have taken that risk until I had a bit more financial security when I was making more money or doing something, kind of, like the JD model. I probably would have worked on my business for another year part-time or, in early morning, late nights in order to make it happen before I would have quit my job. But I'm grateful that she's the one that suggested that because we were able to go so much further, so much faster when we were able to get out of the job. So.
And opinionated about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And not just kind of like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, whatever. Because, we have, people in our circle that's, what the, they're trying to get from the one person they trust the most. And they're like,
you got to get the other one to buy in. It's so, I forget about that point too. But yeah, I mean, if you have to convince your significant other that you have to do something, then it's probably, I don't want to say it's not going to work out, but it's not going to be as, as smooth and fulfilling. I mean, she was on board with it. She's the one that started us on real estate podcasts. She's the one that made us listen to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She's the one that said to sell the house. And ultimately, I've been able to go in and do all the work and get it done, right? Get us to where we wanted to go. But I look at those things and just say, well, if that didn't happen, we would never be. Yeah. I don't want, maybe not never, but maybe it would have been a lot longer down the road.
Yeah, but it's also refreshing, like when you're around your work network, right, of other successful folks that are worth millions and millions of dollars. How all three of our significant others, they can hold their own in that same room. They don't get like intimidated from it or. Just like, I'm going to let you go do your thing. Like, yeah, you can do that. That's fine. But when they're, willing to come out and be around everybody and, it just helps build more value of who you are when you're putting yourself out there and having similar beliefs and way you operate.
The part too is it's important talking about your circle of friends again, right? Like there's so many things like my girlfriend, we've been together for some time now, and she started working with us, with me in the company because she wanted to try it. So she's got her own locations now, right? She's got her own short-term rental. She's making her own money. And then she comes in and she's running, 70-plus location business doing in-house management with me. And she tried it out. It worked out for about 2 years, and she's finally like, yeah, I've had enough. I think I want to go and try my own thing. And I was like, hell yeah. To me, it was like, it sucks because I'm losing her on my side.
I'm losing my best employee.
Yeah, but I'm like, but I was like, dude, I'm super excited. I'm pumped. I'm happy for you because now she knows the direction she wants to go in, and it took her some time to figure it out. But now she's like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. How can I support you? Yeah. Right? She supported me enough. Like I have the biggest imposter syndrome, dude. Like I still don't think that what I talk about even really freaking matters. She's like, dude, like you're like always behind my ear. Like, dude, that was great. Oh, dude, you're always adding value. You're always helping people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I appreciate that a ton because it kind of makes you realize like, okay, maybe I do know some shit, right? Maybe I do help some people out. Yeah. And she's always there supporting me. Hey, what do you think of this? everything I need to do, it's like she's my second ear for it. Whether I'm complaining, whether I'm asking for advice, whether I want her opinion, where are we going to go? What do you think? I mean, look, moving out here is a huge decision. And she's like, I'm fucking down if you're down.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, okay,
Cool.
this is down.
Do it.
Man, yeah. And so, like, it's a big thing. Having someone that can be there and fully be there and fully be with you and just support you in every way possible, and you do as much as you can to support them. I mean, that's what else is it?
That's what it's about.
Yeah. What else is it?
You know,
I love to hear the impact that you made on her life, and I'm assuming other people's lives. And one of the things I've always said and I maintain is like the best thing that you can do in life is to inspire to help somebody else, right? And if you can change one person's life and help them better themselves and their families, like that's how you live a fulfilled life, right? And the more you do that, it just continues to fill up your cup and fill up your cup and fill up your cup. And the more value you bring, the more people that you help, you know, it comes back tenfold, you know,
100%.
and it might not be right away. It might be, 20 years from now or whatever, but like I definitely can sleep at night knowing that I have helped people significantly change their mindset and change the trajectory of their life and their family's lives and everybody that they're impacting in their life, because you were that spark that helped inspire somebody to make a change, towards something different.
Yeah.
So touching on change, let's talk a little bit about, when you guys first started outsourcing all of your property management and eventually like just this year really kind of starting your own and bringing it more in-house, and how does that kind of move the needle for you guys?
That is the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my entire life. It's interesting. When we first bought our first couple of properties, you use third-party management, right? Because it's a necessary evil. They service your property, they make money off of it. At a certain point in time, if you're like us, you want to continue to grow faster, do better, grow faster, do better, like everything more quickly. And we just came to a point where it was difficult for us to find a property management company that fit our niche, because it's so hard to find people that even do what I do. So I was at a conference a couple months ago and I did this exercise of like, okay, raise your hand if you own real estate. Everybody raises their hand. Said, okay, keep your hand up if you own apartment complexes. And some hands go down. Most hands stay up. And then the next part was like, if you own an apartment complex and allow Section 8 vouchers at your property, keep your hand up. Like most hands go down at that point, right? And then my last question was, if you own an apartment complex that allows Section 8 vouchers and it's a LITECH property, keep your hand up. And there was 2 people with their hand up. And I said, look around. That's my competition. Everybody else with their hands down, that's who you're competing against. And the same principle apply, because there's the vast majority of property management companies are good with market rate properties, because that's what most people are looking for. So we learned over time that what we needed to do in order to continue to grow and be successful was we needed to bring it in-house. And let me tell you, it has been a blessing. It is the best thing that we've ever done. I can tell you it has also been the most difficult thing that we have ever done, because building a business is much more than just buying and selling real estate now, because we have to deal with the day-to-day operations. And 95% of my time now is spent in the operations of the business because it's not outsourced. But what we're able to do is control our quality and control our speed and control everything, right? So now we're getting the benefits of understanding our property even better than we ever have before, because our employees, when we ask them to do something, it gets done immediately because they don't have anybody else's stuff to work on. When you're working with third-party management, you have your weekly call or your monthly call, and they're like, cool, we'll get to it when we can. I'm like, no, I got investor expectations to meet.
Before the next call.
Before the next call. I got investor expectations to meet. I got short-term money that I got to refinance out of. I can't wait for you to dilly-dally and maybe someday get to it. The faster I get out of this 11, 12% interest loan and into stabilized debt that's 6%, and I can return a lot of my investor capital, the better. And, incentive as an operator and a sponsor company, because I'm signing on all the loans, is I want to make sure that these things are being operated correctly and everything's being documented correctly, and that we're doing everything that we possibly can to move the needle as fast as possible, because that's going to be what keeps investors coming back, is they say, well, you told me it was going to take 2 years and you did it in 14 months.
Right.
Let's do that again.
Okay, so I think all 3 of us do in-house management, right?
Yeah.
In-house management. And one of the big benefits is what you said is you can control the outcome of the way the company works, right? Like you control the upside, you control the downside, but you control the day-to-day. And I don't remember who said this, but some of the best performing companies out there in real estate have really good properties that have in-house management, right? In really good areas. And so I want to talk just briefly about the challenges, because I know you said it was like the best thing you've done, but some of the worst thing you've done at the same time because of the work that it requires. I know I've been building mine to this day, and it's been 7 years of just constant systems and processes and training and dealing with headaches. Give me just a couple of the hardest things that you've actually had to implement, whether it was personnel or just systems and process, whatever it is, around building your in-house management.
So we utilize something called the Culture Index Survey. It's much like a DISC profile. And one of the attributes on the Culture Index Survey is you have like A, B, C, D traits. And your D trait is like, are you more challenge the status quo, kind of go with the flow, or are you more systems and processes and follow, cross your T's and dot your I's? I am extremely low D. I am very, why do we have to do it that way? And I also really don't care how it gets done. I just need it to get done. And one of the things that's difficult for me is we have to implement those systems and processes. And that's a very high D trait. So it's very exhausting for me to do something like that because it's not in my natural characteristic. That's definitely been the hardest thing, is making sure that we have systems and processes and documentation so that when we hire new people, we can just hit refer to the manual, right? Instead of, picking up the phone and having a 30-minute phone call, like, how do I do this? And, 6 months later, having to do it all over again, and it's like that constant on repeat. But hiring the right people is challenging, because everyone wants a raise, everyone wants a bonus, everyone wants to make more money. But some of the things that we've been struggling with is we hire on property managers, and we have like an incredible bonus structure where, like, if the rent's $1,000 and you bring it to $2,000, I'll give you $1,000 bonus, right? So like we're talking 150 unit apartment complexes, and rent increases anywhere from $200 to $1,500 increases. I mean, you can make serious money. And what I found is that doesn't always incentivize people to do the job well. And so we're having to adjust and pivot and change and kind of move things around in order to kind of learn how to do that differently. But creating the culture of your business and making sure that everybody's is doing what you would be doing is a very difficult task. It's a mountain to climb of making sure that people are going to make the same decisions that you would make. And how it gets done is irrelevant. It's that the right decision is made and that you're going in the right direction. That right there has been the precipice of the problem, where I don't want to have to provide my input on every single decision. How do you make it so that your employees are empowered to make the right decisions? Not sometimes it's making a decision, but making the right decision is definitely been the most challenging thing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm huge on don't come to me with the problem. Come with me with what you think is the solution, and if it's not, we go over it and figure out how you came to that and how we'll get you to the next one, right?
And I don't disagree with you, but I mean, I don't know, maybe you're guilty of this. I know I definitely am. But what ends up happening is I get so busy in some things that I don't take a second to kind of take a step back and make sure I'm using that approach, that people just bring me problems and I solve them because I got to move on to the next thing. Yeah. And it's a vicious cycle that you have to catch yourself and make sure you're trying to correct yourself with systems and processes. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in that motto and that theory, but implementing it is a whole other story.
It's extremely difficult. You know how I started implementing it? I just stopped replying to the messages, and they had to make a decision.
So when we hired Crystal's our VP of property management. We hired her as a regional manager, promoted her to VP. And when she first started, she used to come to us with all of these questions. She got 30 years of experience with LITECH, property management, this, that, and the other thing, right? And she'd come asking me questions. And my response every single time was, I don't know, that's a Crystal question. And she would get so frustrated with me. I'm like, why are you asking me? I have literally no idea. That's a you question.
And
that's my response has been now with my employees is, I don't insert their name. That's a so-and-so name question. to kind of delegate and try to empower people to make decisions because they know what the answer is. And that's when I learned. It was like every time I would try to figure out something, she goes, good, that's exactly what I would have done. I'm like, then why the hell did you come that's when I started implementing. That's a crystal question. Like, why are you asking me? And then over time, that gave her like the autonomy and the power and the confidence to make those decisions on her own.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So, dude, I maybe we got to bring you back in for a second interview because I want to talk about the Section 8 and the LITECH.
Yeah.
And I can talk about management and operations for days. It's like my bread and butter. So maybe we'll do a second one. I know we're getting to the top of the hour, so I want to kind of pivot here and just ask you the questions we ask everybody. Being that this is the Big Break Show, we always want to know, is there a defining moment that was your big break in your life that got you from before to where you're at now?
I mean, we talked about selling the house, making that decision to cut the cord and go all in on the business. And I mean, that was definitely the pivotal moment. I mean, there's a lot of pivotal moments along my life, but that, specifically getting into commercial real estate and becoming to where I am now is definitely, that was the pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And I love that was, a family decision.
Yeah, it really was.
So, that makes it that much more meaningful.
Yeah.
Big deal. So give our listeners an actionable step based around what we've talked about or anything that you think that they can do now, implement the moment that this episode's over, where they can go, man, I really like what you're talking about, and I want to go and try to do something similar. An actionable step.
Write it down. Write down your goal. Like whatever moment is whatever's popping into your head right now of like, I want to do that, write it down and put a date on it. When are you going to accomplish this by? And put it on your mirror in your bathroom, or like I've seen some people take pictures of it and make it like their screensaver on their phone. Mm-hmm. So every time they open their phone or they lock their phone, they're looking at what their goals are. Yeah. Whatever is going to be a constant reminder for you. And it's okay to pivot and change your goals and your career and then whatever you want to accomplish. But like in order to get started, you have to be clear about where you're going, because it makes it very easy to say yes or no to opportunities. Like I have no gray area. I'm either a yes, I'm all in, or no, I'm not in at all, like a 0 to 100 person. And it can be a blessing and a curse. But the number one thing that's like, if you can do something today, is just write it. What are you going to accomplish over the year? And then break it down into 90-day goals. Like, what do you need to do this, then to do this, then to do this? Because not only is that applicable in your personal life, it's also applicable in your business as you own a business. And like one of the things that we're working on in our business is I want to have a business goal of ours is to have all units that come vacant turned and released within 10 business days, right? That's the company goal. So now it's like, okay, well, we worked back from there. Now we have a May 31st goal and a June 30th goal and a July 31st goal. And the target is to be there on average by the end of September. So we broke it down into, okay, what do we need to do in order to get there? And I did the same thing in my personal life too. And I think that no matter where you apply that, you will be more successful because you know where you're going.
I think that's such a big deal. I struggle with that sometimes too, where I know where I want to do. I know what the goal is, and I'm still kind of jumping all over the place because I don't make a plan from the end goal coming back down. That's the reverse engineer it. Like the most successful people will tell you to reverse engineer anything you're trying to accomplish, and it makes it that much easier to make decisions. Yeah, that's good advice, dude. And action of implementation or whatever, where go out and just implement it, like do it, like have the action.
Yeah, you guys come across it all the time as well as myself. It's like the people that all say that they want to do something, but everybody, you could read books for years, but you're never going to do anything until you do something about it. Correct. So take the difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person is the one that took action.
Correct. Always. Anybody that's successful is taking action. Final question, dude. What's the best advice you've ever received?
We talked a lot about business goals and things like that, but I'll give this one to my dad. And it was a marriage thing. And he said, when I told him Danielle and I were getting married, he said, the best thing that he could tell me to do, the best advice he could give me is one bank account. And he said, if you look at the statistics of divorces and things like that in the world, or in this country specifically, most divorces occur because of some kind of money conflict, right? And he was like, well, if you just go into it with everything's our money from day one, then you don't have that's your money or my money or this or that and the other thing. And we implemented that essentially from the day we started dating and we moved in together. We had a single credit card. Anything that we did, we each had a copy of it. you go to the grocery store, we go to dinner, we do anything that was for us. We just put it on that credit card and split the bill 50-50. And then when we got married, we got rid of all of the bank accounts. We have one personal account. I have business accounts, whatever. But all of the money just goes into one bank account, and it doesn't matter. And that really has helped our financial situation, but also our marriage, because we're not divided over money. Think about how that could have an impact in somebody's life where, if you're making $1 million a year and she's making $40K, you're going to be able to go out and buy that new AMG and she's going to be driving the 99 Honda Civic, right? That causes a divide. So if you just look at anything that I'm going to achieve or accomplish or grow, it's going to be ours together. And it really helps kind of make sure that you and your spouse are, walking in the right direction together. One unit, yeah.
I'm so glad you ended it on a personal note, because that's great. Like, nobody's ever actually, I'm going back to thinking of all the episodes we've had, and nobody's actually said anything like that. That's great advice. I do the same thing. One bank account. There's no reason to be like, this is yours, this is mine. And I know a lot of couples that are like that. And look, sometimes I'm like, it's not my place to say, but I see it. I've seen it.
Unless you're Rory McIlroy, he just filed for divorce last week, and he had a prenup. So, obviously we're not celebrity golfers or anything like that, but yeah, definitely.
For sure.
This was a great episode.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. We're happy to have had you here, and looking forward to doing it again. Next time we'll do cigars.
Yeah, appreciate the invite.
Definitely got to do another one with some cigars.
Oh, I brought the Cubans, man. I'm prepared. I'm ready. Ready to rock.
Man, listen, we appreciate you coming on, Fro. This is great, especially being that this is our first in-house live recording.
Yeah.
So tell everybody. What's that?
Start out with a bang.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you. Anything you want to talk about here for the final notes, and we'll put everything in the show notes as well.
Facebook is honestly my number one social media outlet. I have Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all of the platforms, but I would say I spend the most amount of time on Facebook. You can send me an email at tvitale@viveequity.com. And I'm happy to help out wherever I can.
Appreciate that. And you have a podcast.
Yeah, so our Facebook group is called Making Moves in Multifamily.
Okay.
And every Tuesday, so my partner's name is Tim Vest. I'm Tim Vitale. Oh. So it's Tim and Tim, Tuesdays at 10. So my wife was in marketing, so alliteration is big to help try to remember it. So every Tuesday at 10 a.m., we do a live show. We talk about our business. We talk about our lives. We talk about what's going on in the Fed. We talk about things that we're learning, things that we screwed up, just full transparency, honesty in what we do. And, it's not scripted. Truth be told, sometimes most of the time it's 5 minutes before the show. It's like, hey, what are we talking about today?
Yeah.
So we just go with it. We just see where the conversation goes. Yeah. Just like this, we didn't script anything. Yep. It's just, where does the conversation take you? Dan's been on it before, and that's how we run it. And just, just people talking about what they're doing. Cause I think the best thing that comes from that is people see past the facade of social media, right? Where you're closing deals, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're this person that knows everything, right? Well, when you get into these situations and you're just talking about damn, we really screwed that up. It's these people are human. They make mistakes too, and they're learning and growing. And this is how we document our journey and our process of everything that we're going through.
I love that. Well, that's it. That's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for listening all the way through. Everything will be in the notes, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Cool. That was great.